Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second day of the Leadership Festival. It's lovely to see everyone again. So my talk it has a bit of a personal connection to it. The power of transformation. You know, we've all experienced at least one event that transformed us into who we are today. And it's these experiences that shape us either for the better or for worse. So I want to take you on a trip down memory lane. There's two questions tied to this, and the one being, what was the defining moment in your life? We all have a defining moment. We all have that one moment that's defined our lives, either for the better or for the worse. And then the other question is, now I'm taking you back almost 30 years, is how many of you can recall your exact movements on the 28th of February 1993? It's almost 30 years ago. So the 28th of February 1993 was the day that defined the course of my life. And not only was it the turning point in my life, but life as I knew changed overnight, because that was the day my father abandoned us. You know, at the tender age of 16, I had to decide whether I'm taking ownership of my situation or whether I'm adopting a victim mentality, as Lanaine spoke of last week. And, you know, I told myself, okay, it's not ideal, but you can sit in a corner and you can feel sorry for yourself and you can blame the entire world for what has happened to you, or you can take ownership of your situation and you can make the best. You can make the best of it. And at that moment in time, I decided that my father's actions will not define my journey for the worse. It will define my journey for the better, because his actions taught me everything that I did not want to be. Rejection is probably one of the hardest setbacks that we all have to deal with. Somewhere in our lives, we have to deal with rejection, and it's very difficult to deal with rejection, both personally and professionally. As leaders, you will always, at some point in time during your leadership journey, you have to deal with rejection. You have to sail through stormy weathers. But a great leader embraces those setbacks and challenges and assumes ownership regardless of the situation. One of the most valuable lessons I learned is that, you know, we're often required to follow the road less traveled. Occasionally you have to follow a detour. Occasionally you have to be prepared to walk alone, because not everyone will share you on your, or will join you on your journey. And I think one of the most uncomfortable experiences for us as human beings is to leave that place of comfort. We all want to operate within that's comfort zone, but we all know that comfort hardly ever takes you anywhere. And when I say comfort, I'm not talking about watching the Friday night movie on DSTV with Coke and popcorn. That is a completely different level of comfort. And the journey to transformation can be a very lonely journey. I think we've all experienced that, and that's perfectly fine, because I've always viewed it in the light that it's better to walk alone in the right direction than to walk with someone in the wrong direction. As leaders, or great leaders, are not afraid to venture off-road, because we know the road less travel often results in great successes. And we do not fear walking alone, because we embrace the journey and we are confident in our ability to deal with the unknown. The wonderful aspect to transformation is that I always call it it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We all have to walk our own journeys. There's not an instruction manual that teaches you this is the journey to transformation. We all have to do what works best for us, essentially. Sometimes we are afraid to ask for help, and I think we're all guilty of that, especially as leaders. We all fear asking for help, and it's for various reasons. But the reality to that is that we all need help from time to time. There will come a point in your life where you need to ask for help, and it's not a sign of weakness. I see it as a sign of strength and confidence. As leaders, great leaders anyway, you know, I don't necessarily think that all leaders are good leaders. I have worked with leaders and they are not particularly all good leaders, So I always view it as great leaders are those who embrace their shortcomings and ask for help, because we most definitely do not know it all. And another great quality of leaders is that they don't fear showing vulnerability. Being a leader does not mean that you know it all, as I've said, but it shows that you don't always have an answer or a solution, which is perfectly fine. The journey to transformation starts with you. Only you have the power to change. I've met so many people. I've met great people across my journey. I mean, my journey's been it's been a 29-year journey, and I think I've met more great people than people who haven't really done much for me. But I have met quite a few people who always, and I think we all know at least one or two people, or they always sit and wait for something to happen. They always want someone else to walk the journey for them. And that's not how the journey to transformation works. It starts with you. No one can do it on your behalf. Sometimes you feel hopeless. We've all felt hopeless. Sometimes it feels as if there's no end in sight. And sometimes you feel like the world's biggest failure, because I have most definitely at some point in time thought of myself as the world's biggest failure, which of course is not true, but you get to a point where you feel so low that you literally feels like the world's biggest failure. Ultimately, it's your attitude that accompanies you on your journey that determines the outcome. As leaders, not only will a great leader embrace, we don't only embrace our shortcomings, but we also guide and support those along their journey in sharing our failures, successes, and lessons learned with them. My message to everyone is that no matter what life throws at you, you have the courage to overcome your hardships. I think sometimes we doubt our courage. Never wish for someone else's journey because you haven't walked in their shoes, and you can never walk in someone else's shoes. So often we'll look at someone and we'll say, it seems as if their life just, it's just so smooth, and their life just seems so perfect and so easy, but behind the scenes, we have no idea the road that they had to walk, the journey they had to undertake to get to where they are today. And never wish for an easier, more comfortable journey, because no one's journey is to transformation is a walk in the park. I'm yet to meet anyone to tell me, Lisa, my journey to transformation has just been the smoothest road. No one's journey to transformation is smooth. And then the other thing I also always say is celebrate your successes. People are sometimes so fearful of celebrating their successes because they feel they are selfish for celebrating success. I, on the other hand, view it as you've worked very hard for that success, for your success. Doesn't matter how big or small the success. Success is success. You have worked for it. You've earned it. So celebrate it. The greatest lessons I've learned was that we don't necessarily learn the best lessons from our own mistakes, but the best lessons are often learned from others' mistakes. And the journey is not always easy, but it's definitely not beyond anyone's capability. As leaders, we cannot expect others to follow us if we doubt and we question our own abilities. It's ultimately through the journey of transformation that we unlock our true potential. It might be an uncomfortable journey, but at the end of the day, it's a powerful and a rewarding journey. So I'll conclude in the words of John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Thank you.
Respect.
Thank you.
Respect.
Thank you so much.
That's really amazing, Lisa. It was really amazing.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Sasha.
Thank you. Can I ask, does anybody have any questions or comments? No?
Feel free to ask away. You've got 2 hours.
Absolutely. Okay. But thank you very much, Lisa. I think to understand transformation from all walks of life, you need to have it within your life. You cannot be the
Absolutely.
person you are if you haven't had some form of transformation and some type of incident that leads to transformation. Whether you're a child, whether you're a grown-up, you always are in transformation stage. You go into a new job, etc.
It's true, Sue. And I think that, you know, I'm just going to share, I'm not going to get too personal, but I mean, I never had a relationship with my father. So it was very easy for me to move on. So someone asked me not so long ago, what was the happiest and the saddest day of your life? And I always explained to them, the happiest day was when my father had left. And they said, what was the saddest day? And I said, the saddest day was when my father had left. And they, all of a sudden, they're confused. And I said, it was the happiest day because I prayed for so long, God, just take him. I don't care which way, shape, or form you take him, just take him. I do not want him in my life because he had no meaning in my life. But the sad part for me was to see the hardships that my mom had to endure. Her heartache, everything that she had to deal with. I mean, I was 16 at the time. I've always been very independent and very mature for my age, but it's very difficult, especially to see a mom at the age of 16. She was unemployed at the time. All of a sudden, at the age of 42, she was 42 at the time, she became a single parent. So not only did you at the age of 42 become a single parent, you became a single unemployed parent. And there were so many obstacles that we had to overcome as a child at 16 years old. What can you do? There's only so much you can do. And, you know, I think maybe if I had a relationship with him, perhaps it would have been more difficult to deal with it. But I knew in order for me to start my journey to transformation, he could not form a part of that journey. And I was fine with that because, once again, I think it was easier for me because I never had that relationship with him. But regardless whether you have that relationship or not, it's still a parent that's lost. But ultimately, the decision lies with you. You have to decide whether you want to make the best of your situation or whether you want to make the worst of the situation. And I think what's important is, you know, what made it easy for me my entire life is I've always had an amazing support structure in my life. And it's in the form of family, friends. A lot of people do not have that support structure. And when you do not have a support structure in your life, everything becomes more challenging. I can go to my mom, and I mean, my mom and I are more like two sisters than mother and daughter. We share literally everything and anything. And she will tell me if I'm wrong. She'll say to me, I think you are wrong, and this is why I think you are wrong. So I always have that support. Everything is unconditional. It's unconditional love. It's unconditional support. And when you have that in your life, it doesn't matter whether it's from a family member, or whether it's a friend or an acquaintance. I always say, if you have one person in your life that supports you, it makes a world of difference. But when you don't have that support, it becomes challenging, because who do you turn to? You just don't have anyone. And I think that's when people start taking the wrong detours and going down the wrong paths, because they just don't have that support.
I think you're very right there, Lisa. I mean, I can bring up many areas of transformation when, I mean, I look at it from my professional point, where I deal with employees who are injured in their daily lives, and you know, they become an able-bodied person to somebody who now doesn't have a job, because the fact is they've become a paraplegic or they've lost a leg. And you've got to transform that person and that family unit into now you are carers. I can say the same. I mean, my late husband was the pillar of our family. I mean, he was the person. He's your father. He's your husband, your spouse. And I mean, again, transformation. And I had friends, but if I didn't have those friends when he passed, I wouldn't be able to say, you know, I can be independent. I am very independent. And obviously with the job I do, I'm independent. But suddenly you've got children that haven't got a father anymore. Suddenly you are now the full take on full responsibility. So when there is a void in anybody's life, whether it be the loss of a parent, a child, or anybody that is so close, you automatically have to go through that transformation. Otherwise, you will not survive. And within our profession, we always say, if you've got a spouse and a partner, and that's one spouse, they've been together for years, we always say, if that spouse or the partner can live 3 months post their death of their partner, then you know they are strong enough to continue. But if you start seeing that person deteriorating and go inward and is not able to accept as such, because it's not accept, you cope. It's not a word you say accept, you cope. Then you know that person and that family and child, etc., are going to be able to, we will put it in inverted commas, survive, because they're going to have a new life of losing a person. So yes, no, thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lee.